Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Samantha, and if you love reading, you are in the right place today. If you've missed the last few of my videos, I started posting and I did a spring/summer book haul of a few books that I've bought within the last few weeks. And then I recently did a review/discussion of Oathbound by Tracy Deonn, which is the third book in the Legendborn series. So if you're interested in watching those, they're on my channel. Today, we have a discussion of The Most Famous Girl in the World by Iman Hariri-Kia. And this is the first book I've read by this author. I'd never heard of her before. I don't think I've seen any of her other books, but when I bought this at Barnes & Noble, it was on like the very front table that they had, and it was just stuck out to me because I really liked the cover, the pink and the lips. You know, it kind of caught my eye and I was like, ooh, what is this? And so I just picked it up and the premise sounded really good. So before we get into any spoilers, if you haven't read this book and you're just wanting some recommendation on if I liked it or not, I did give this book a 3.5 stars and I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to someone who is interested in kind of reading a genre like bending book. I felt like there was romance in this and there was even spice in it. And there was also like thriller, but kind of contemporary fiction and kind of following a main character's growth. So it was a few genres kind of wrapped all in one. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And essentially this book is about a young woman who is kind of going through some life changes, and she's also a journalist, and she kind of wants to establish herself as a writer and someone to be taken seriously. So she starts investigating this popular socialite in New York City who she thinks is a scammer, and it turns out that she actually is a scammer. And this is kind of all explained in the beginning of the book or on the back of the book. And the woman ends up in prison, and the story starts where the woman that the main character Rose writes about, she gets released from prison, and Rose goes into this spiral of obsession, and that's where the story starts. So it was really interesting, and honestly, I would recommend it if you're interested in something like that, sort of mystery thriller, sort of romance, and it follows a woman who's going through life changes in her 20s and her growth on the path to, you know, dealing with this obsession that she has. And also this book really talked about like the parasocial relationships that people have with people online, how we idolize these pop culture figures that we don't even really know who they are. And it's a satirical book as well, so it has that element to it. And it just had a lot of interesting things, and it was very layered, and the literal last page will throw you for a loop, and it makes you want to reread the whole book again from a new perspective of information you learn all the way to the end. So it was a wild ride, and I would definitely recommend if you haven't read it. And if you have, I do want to talk about just some spoilery things that if you've read the book, I want to know other people's thoughts on, and I want to share my thoughts on as well. So getting into spoilers now. Originally, I gave this book a 3.25 stars, and then I bumped it up to 3.5 after I sat with it for a while because I was like, dang, like that really got me, and it was really good, and I didn't expect the ending. The reason I didn't give it higher than a 3.5 though is because I loved Rose's character, and I loved that her character growth, and she felt like a really real character to me. She felt very grounded, and she didn't feel one-dimensional. But up until the very end, I wanted her to have a good ending. I wanted her to have her happy ending, and she almost had it until we figure out that Simon is somehow connected to this organization, the Dominus organization. And we find that out on the very last page, and there's really no like resolution to that. It just leaves her again spiraling. They moved in together, and she was really on this great path. And then it kind of just drops off, and I was like, well, I do want to reread the book again because now I want to reread it from the perspective of knowing that Simon is connected to this group, and reading it from that knowledge of like, what is he doing with Rose? Like, why is he teaming up with her if he's also in an organization that the villain was in? And oh, Poppy, that's who the villain is. like, I don't know, it just felt anticlimactic to me, and I was sad that she didn't get her happy ending. But it was a good twist. I liked the twist, but as a Rose fan, I definitely wanted her to have her happy ending. But I did like her arc where at the end she kind of figured out more about letting her friends in, getting over her addiction, working through her obsessive thoughts over Poppy, and all of that stuff. So I really enjoyed her arc. Now, this book I went in not knowing anything, and it really was a wild ride. As we go into the story, there is a lot of things that are like really over the top, but it worked very well in my opinion because it is a satirical book, and I liked the comments it was making on parasocial relationships that people have, and especially with Poppy, she's such this like figure in Rose's mind that we really only see her through Rose's perspective of being this famous online influencer after Rose exposed her, and even though she went to prison and she was doing these really bad things, people still idolized her. And I'm sure there's plenty of people in the real world that has happened to, that we can make those connections to. And so I thought it was really interesting reading this story kind of centering on that. But that wasn't my favorite part of the story. There were certain parts where I was like, Rose, put the phone down. First of all, put the phone down and just take a step back. Get off the Adderall, put the phone down and just take a step back. Especially when like she started acting really erratic at work. And of course, it was later revealed that most of her coworkers were a part of this organization, or they were in on the knowledge that Poppy was also part of the Dominus organization. So it made sense at the end. But going through this story the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, girl, like chill out. You got fired from your job. Like, is it that serious? You know, but she was right in the end that this woman was crazy. Poppy was crazy. Now let's get into Simon. I liked Simon for certain parts of this book. I thought that their banter between Rose and Simon was really cute, and then he would always call her Tulip because that was the fake name she gave him, and I thought that was hilarious and cute as he was calling her that, and it kind of became like this pet name for her. And I liked how they had this banter up until their argument scene after they slept together in the hotel and they completely forgot about Poppy and let her get away basically with their one chance of catching her or whatever. And he kind of blamed Rose for getting in his way and all of this stuff. And I'm like, dude, it wasn't her fault. You initiated the hookup. Like, I don't know, that kind of turned me off from him, but he did redeem himself up until the very end, where he basically just ghosted her, and that was that. So I don't know, I liked him, but I didn't at the same time. And also because at the very end, like the note that was left, I'm assuming that they want Rose to join their organization as well, whatever that they do, because he left that note and it was basically saying, we'll be waiting for you. What did it say exactly? It says, you know where to find me, we'll be waiting for you. And she thought that he was kidnapped at first. But then it says, the third act reversal, I never saw it coming. Genius, darling. So what the hell was going on? Did they want her to join the organization? Were they playing her the whole time? Like, I don't know. Poppy got exposed, so I'm assuming they were trying to get her out of the picture as well, so they didn't draw attention to her as part of their organization, because it includes like so many people. And this organization, I'm assuming, is like, my interpretation of it was like when people say, oh, like a celebrity's in the Illuminati and they have like all this power and they pull all these strings and everything's like connected in a conspiracy. So the Dominus organization in this book, my interpretation of how people say like, oh, if it's this celebrity and all these bad things are happening around them, then they must be a part of it and they must be in this like secret organization of lizard people and all this and that. So again, it was a commentary on celebrity culture, fame, the weird things that people project onto people that they don't even know. So anyway, I liked this book. I thought it was really interesting, and if she writes any other books, I think that I would pick them up because, again, I liked the character portrayal. So I liked Rose. I like her friendship, and the two friends that she had were always there for her, and I like that was how that was also centered in the story. I liked how her identity was centered in the story as well. She is Iranian, and so that was kind of something that she struggled with because her parents were immigrants and they came over and they were very patriotic in America, and she was confused about that as a kid, and as she grew up she didn't feel connected to either one, and that was something that she was struggling with. And I liked those parts of the story where there were still really real things that made the characters feel like real people, even in this like big outlandish satirical mystery thriller comedy romance, you know? So I really liked that, and so if Iman writes any other books, I will be reading them. She also has one called 100 Other Girls, and I looked it up. I think I've seen like the cover of it before, but I've never picked it up, and I didn't know that that was also her until I read this book. So if she writes any others, or if I see that one and it sounds intriguing, I will probably pick that up as well. But I just wanted to share my general thoughts on this book because I hadn't seen a lot of people talk about it on TikTok or on YouTube. I tried to look up, you know, some people's thoughts just because that's what I like to do after I read a book. But I just wanted to share my thoughts. So if you've read this and you have things to share as well, please leave them in the comments. What did you think about the ending? Did you like how this book mixed different genres? What did you think about what did you think about Rose and Simon's relationship? What did you think about Poppy? Did you like her as a character? I did not. And what did you think? So please let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts, and thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.